Hey there, this is Mara, and welcome back to My Art Break Life. Just recently, I started reading Harry Potter to the kids, and as I was reading the books to them, I was feeling inspired and seeing all these images in my head, and decided paint a scene. So I figured what better place to start off than chapter 1. So as I said, I've been reading to the kids Harry Potter, and honestly, when I was younger, when Harry Potter came out, I never read the books. I only saw the movies. So I did have the books, I just never sat down or took the time to sit down and read them. Because why would I do that? The movie came out. And I know the movie's always different from the book, but at the time, I was young, busy, didn't have time to sit down and read it. And I regret that actually, because I really enjoyed the books. This time, when we were reading the book, I made a deal with them and said, we can't watch the movies until you read the book, because there's so much information in the book that they can't put it all in one movie. And so the kids were kind of upset with me because they knew that it was so easy just to go on HBO Max and turn it on, but I made them promise that we wouldn't watch it until we finished the book. And they did enjoy the book. I read it to them every night, either one chapter or a couple of chapters, and they were always clinging to the last word I'd say and like, oh, read the next one. And once we finished book 1, the kids were hooked. They just wanted to move on to the next one. They really enjoyed the characters. They really associated with them, and they just wanted to find out more. And when they watched the movie, I had asked them and said, oh, so what did you think about the movie compared to the book? My middle son said, oh, I like the movie better. He has a shorter attention span, so the movie for him was a lot more exciting. He's a visual type of person, so the movie just really caught on to him more than the book. My oldest son, he actually preferred the book. He said the story was really good and that he enjoyed listening to it. But for me, I enjoyed the book so much better. The story was just so much more well developed, and as enjoyable as it was to see the movie, the book just won it for me in the end. As I was reading the book to the kids, I kept seeing all the images, obviously from the movie because I'd seen the movie before, but all these other images in my head through different scenes throughout the chapters, like, oh, that would make a nice vignette, or that would make a nice painting. So that's why I kind of wanted to delve into that a little bit and see what I could come up with as far as a drawing for the different chapters. And of course, I'm starting with chapter 1. Start from the beginning. I'm not sure how far this is going to go because, we'll see how this goes. But I decided to just to start off, I'm not too good with drawing things without a reference. I'm someone that really needs a really hard reference. And so what I did was I watched the first part of the first movie, and I chose a still from the movie that associated with chapter 1. And there were multiple parts within the chapter where it talked about Dudley's parents and, how they were kind of introducing their character. Then at the end of the chapter, it introduced Harry's character and why he was there, but through the eyes of Dumbledore and his, rescue mission to bring him back to the Muggle world for protection from Voldemort. And so I chose this movie still because it showed a bit of him caring for the child and trying to protect him. and knowing that there's so much other harsher, dangerous things he's going to be facing when he's older, but for now, he just wanted to keep him safe. That's why I liked this movie still. It wasn't the best image I could have taken because I was taking it off of a TV screen. I mean, it was really hard because HBO Max, when you pause it, it makes the screen black, so you have to kind of catch it while it's playing. And so I just took it with my phone. But this scene was really nicely lit. It had a lot of deep blues and oranges in this shot, and it reflected nicely off of their face and along the edges of the hair on Dumbledore. And then it showed the difference between where the light was shining from the front porch and the darkness from the street behind it. And that's why I chose this picture, out of all the other ones. I was contemplating on picking maybe Hagrid flying on the motorcycle or, something like that to that effect. But when I was reading back the first chapter of the book, that part of the chapter was all about, describing Dumbledore, why they were there, and Professor McGonagall trying to get all the information out of him about what really happened. And that's why I liked that Professor McGonagall was in this picture. It shows how she's concerned about him and about what's going on as well. Now, for the painting technique I tried on this painting was I used my poster colors again. And since poster color behaves very similarly to watercolor, but not exactly like watercolor. It's a thicker medium than watercolor, and it can be pushed around a lot. It doesn't set in place. You can use it like watercolor, where you can put it in really light layers and layer it like you're going from light to dark. But I was trying to copy this technique I saw someone doing on YouTube, and where they're an oil painter, and so I tried to copy their technique of adding in the dark parts of the shadows first, and then adding in the lights and thinning out those shadows as you added more layers of the lighter colors of paint. And so I guess it worked out all right. I forgot though, as I was painting in this, that the black poster color paint is very unstable. When you paint just using black by itself, it becomes very patchy. It's really hard to get a really nice solid finish across the surface of the paper. But it works great when you mix it with other colors to darken them. So when you use like the reds and the blues together with the black, it creates a really nice uniform black. But black by itself, not so good. Even if like you let it dry and try to put more layers on, it picks up the pigment as it goes along, and so it just gets more patchy and more patchy. I learned a lot actually from doing this drawing and painting, and also about my poster colors as well, and it makes me want to even experiment with some oil in the future, so stay tuned for that. I haven't used oil paint since college because of the toxicity of like the thinners and all like that, but I'm kind of looking into the water-based oil paints to see how that will work, so fingers crossed that I get enough time to research that to see if I can start experimenting with that medium. I really love poster color paint, because of the way it blends and you can reactivate it. But if you use something like acrylic gouache, it sets pretty quick. So that's why I haven't really gotten that far yet. I'm not comfortable enough yet with my strokes to actually have it permanent without being able to retouch it. And watercolor is so much different because you have to work in thin light layers and washes and build up that color. If you go in too dark too quick, it just doesn't work sometimes. But yeah, I'm really happy about how this painting came out in my new watercolor sketchbook. I'm hoping to learn and do more of these so I can try and develop this type of painting style more. And hopefully in the future, when I get a little bit more comfortable, I'll learn how to do vignettes where the outside is not just a square, it's just kind of a floating figure in the space, and the vignette is like just kind of its own frame. So fingers crossed that I have more time to experiment with that. That's kind of one of my goals I want to perfect. I've been leaning more towards realism because when I was younger, realism was the goal, you know? Anything that wasn't realistic looking to me was like not good enough, which it's kind of a good mental shift because for me, I was always so hard on myself because things didn't look real, or it didn't look like exactly what I was looking at. But I realize now that that's actually an artistic style as well. You don't have to make everything look exactly like what it looks like because everybody has their own style. So, you know, it's taken me a long time to kind of figure that out and to kind of mentally shift that thought of, you know, really good art has to look realistic, or it has to look just like a photograph. And there are really good artists that do draw like that, and they're brilliant, but they don't always have to be that way. And that's what I have to kind of get out of my head and let myself kind of just experiment and develop my style. I haven't developed it at all, and I'm just still experimenting and learning and doing what I can during my little evening art breaks. Thank you so much for joining me on my evening art break. I hope you enjoyed the video, and with that, this art break is done. Bye guys!